Hey YouTube, what's going on out there? Welcome back to Boxing Legends. Today we will be covering a very talented Hall of Fame boxer from Pensacola, Florida. Former middleweight champion, former super middleweight champion, former light heavyweight champion, and former heavyweight champion Roy Jones Jr. Roy Jones Jr., the epitome of skill and finesse. This man was a force to be reckoned with. His speed was as mind-boggling as a Ferrari on steroids. I mean, seriously, blink, and you'd miss him in action. But that's not all. Roy had the footwork of a dance maestro. He glided around the ring with the grace of a swan, making it seem like he was floating on air. It was poetry in motion, folks. But wait, there's more. Roy possessed knockout power that could make even the mightiest opponents crumble like a house of cards. He had fists of steel and the accuracy of a sniper. The man knew how to end a fight in spectacular fashion, and let's not forget his showmanship. Roy had a charisma that could light up the entire arena. He loved entertaining the crowd with his flashy moves and taunts, always keeping us on the edge of our seats. So, my friends, that's why Roy Jones Jr. was an absolute legend in the ring. His speed, footwork, power, and showmanship combined to create a spectacle like no other. He was a true master of his craft, leaving a lasting mark on the world of boxing.
From Pensacola, Florida, a future Hall of Famer, the former middleweight world champion, former super middleweight world champion, former light heavyweight world champion, and former heavyweight champion of the world, Roy Jones Jr.
Boxing became so special to me because as a kid, I was a constant agitator. So watching my father be so enthused by watching Muhammad Ali fight Joe Frazier, I was really taken by that because my father was so into the boxing. And Muhammad Ali was doing exactly what I love to do, which was aggravate Joe Frazier while he beat him. So I was like, wow, this is pretty interesting. If somebody ever taught me how to use my hands, I can do that because my mindset is the exact same as his mindset. I just don't know how to throw the punches yet. So if somebody teaches me how to throw the punches, I probably could do that. And that's what boxing meant to me right off top.
I spoke to both fighters in the dressing room. I'm cautioning you again, obey my commands at all times. Shake hands, good luck.
James Toney put on an awful lot of weight since the weigh-in 2 days ago. I'm really curious to see how that will affect him, if at all, here, Joe.
Well, I think with the fact that he's back to where he feels comfortable, when he walks around at, it's got to help him. It probably feels a lot better than being 168 right now.
He's a starving man for victory, and there's the bell for round number 1. This one's scheduled for 12. The uncivil war is on now. Jones lunging with the left hand, and Jones hasn't been past the 8th round very often. Toney has. He's been there a number of times. We'll see if they fill each other out here, or if they go right at it.
Toney looking trying to look real slick for Roy Jones, and Roy Jones is throwing some tentative punches. A few of them are missing here, but Toney looks like he knows what he wants to do. He wants to make him miss punches, feel his power a little bit before he starts opening up. He wants to let Roy Jones Jr. feel that he's in control. He's the one making him miss. He'll walk him down.
James Toney is a devastating body puncher. And we'll see when he starts his assault downstairs, as Roy Jones starting to pitch some shots here to get the early lead.
Toney trying to be real indignant as to break down the confidence of Roy Jones right now. Roy Jones is doing things that normally land on other fighters, aren't landing on James Toney right away. That jump in left hook, that little right hand, and Toney's just kind of enjoying himself, making all that miss. Here, Roy Jones just adjusted that left hook and threw it a little bit lower because he knew Toney was ducking underneath it. So that shows good skill on Jones's part by adjusting that left hook.
For Toney, he just conceded the first half of round number 1. That's not a problem, I guess, when you know you have a 12-rounder and you believe you can knock a guy out. And I think that's what Toney has in mind.
Yeah, well, not necessarily sure he conceded this first round. We're only halfway through. The other thing is that you know, it's ring generalship as well. Who's controlling the pace? Who's making who do what? And right now, Jones has landed the only meaningful punches, but the round isn't over yet.
Good counter left hook there from Toney.
And Toney just missed the counter right hand off of Jones's lunging right hand, and then came back with a left hook, which did land. So this is not a lock this round for Roy Jones Jr.
Part of the property that can hurt Jones is that left hand. You see he keeps it down almost like it's in a holster.
Yeah, he does, but it comes out so quick, and he's got such great lateral movement that even though he keeps his hands down, he somehow finds a way to get out of your way.
Nice right lead there from Jones.
And he wasn't there for the counter right hand back from Toney, because what did he do? He slid right off to the side, which is the difficult part about Roy Jones Jr. on top of everything else.
When he knocked Tate out with that left hand, that's exactly what he was doing. He was landing the punch and leaving the scene of the crime. Jones the aggressor here in round one. Toney yet to really put that body attack together.
Jones just left with his right hand down and caught a little bit.
Richard's still confused about that 10-second
clap,
which was really just a 10-second warning for the fighters to let them know there's only 10 seconds left in the bout.
Well, let me tell you something. Roy Jones Jr. got hit with a good little left hook by James Toney at the very end of that round, the last 5 or 8 seconds. They both landed a couple good shots there. I'm not too sure who won that round. It was very close.
Here's the corner of James Toney.
That's good. It's going to sit your hook.
And that's the first time I've ever seen that kind of distraction.
We starting off right, baby.
The timekeeper was just giving a 10-second count.
Well, Richard Steele misinterpreted something else other than the bell for the time.
Keep that man up. Catch that. It's going to sit that hook up. You're catching clean sooner or later.
Coming up is it was just a 10-second warning with the timekeeper claps their hands or hits the mat to indicate 10 seconds, but a little miscommunication. He looks the more confident right now. Roy Jones is breathing a little heavily at the end of that round. I'm sure it's nerves, but Toney is, boy, he's cold as ice right now.
Jones taking his time now, so is Toney. The thing that Toney can do well is, along with going to the body, is he can take a punch, and he even said in the press conference that he likes to get hit. Jones will oblige him there.
Jones threw that first left hook and missed again. Toney got right underneath it, and then Jones wised up and he threw a little left to the midsection, to the belly with that left hand. As not to look, you know, and there's a beautiful combination all off the glove zone.
Best moment that we've seen from Toney had to be against McCallum, and also what he did against Iran Barkley. Have you ever seen a job like the one he put on Barkley? That was something to watch.
Barkley's style was made to order for James Toney, since he's such a nice little counter left hook right up again from Roy Jones off the missed right hand by Toney. But that style of Barkley was made to order for James Toney.
Good left hook from Toney. I notice when Jones throws his punches, Joe, he leaves his hands down.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, he just got with a little right hand, Jones did. Jones leans back so well on his right leg that even though his hands are down, his head is pulled way back, and he leaves his hands out way in front of him to counter you, so you walk into his hands, not his head.
26 bouts for Roy Jones Jr. He's been 12 rounds only once, 10 rounds twice, and he's 8 rounds 3 times. Everything else has been under 6 rounds. So he has 19 bouts that didn't quite make it past the midway point. And he'll perhaps get a test in that route tonight against Toney. Good lead, left hooks.
Beautiful movement by Roy Jones in the corner. He bounced off of one rope, bounced off the other, and came out of the corner before Toney knew what happened. But Tony's biding his time right now. So he's got to look for something like that counter right hand off that lead by Roy Jones Jr.
Toney yet to go to the body, and that's been one of his mainstays throughout his career. Jones, though, not staying there, getting his and leaving.
It's awful dangerous to go to the body against a guy with such quick hands like Roy Jones. So James Toney might be looking to drop him in occasionally, but he's got to be very careful. Jones has got those beautiful left uppercuts, and when you go to the body, you do offer up your head quite a bit.
Final seconds here in the second round of work. So far, Jones has asserted himself pretty well. Good combination from Jones. Toney into trouble. Jones now uppercuts inside, and Toney says, give me more. Is that all you got? Jones says, yeah, I'll take the round with me.
Well, you know, right now, as I see it, Roy Jones is able to do what he does best. Use his speed, encircle you with his feet. It's going to be James Toney's job now to corner Roy Jones, to pin him against the ropes. He's going to have to start mauling him. You cannot look to counterpunch such a quick guy like Roy Jones. You've got to really go. And here's a little example of his quickness. There's two left uppercuts, two left hooks, another left uppercut, right hand, and you know, he's just so accurate. Even though he missed his last couple, those did land. No, they didn't hurt James.
Keep the control, just like this. You're doing good.
But I'll tell you, they add up and they score points. So Toney cannot linger around and let Roy Jones outbox him like that this next round, or he's going to dig a deeper hole for himself.
Initially, with the naked eye, it appeared as though when Toney jumped back that he was somewhat staggered, but he was actually just gaining his balance.
Exactly.
And now the body work from Toney. Some big headshots there from Jones to keep him out of the inside, though. Jones, the quicker of the two. Would you agree, Joe?
Well, he is at this point. Right now, Toney seemingly thinks he knows what he has to do, and that's to put the pressure on. But Roy Jones came off the ropes when he got pinned there with some beautiful shots back at Toney.
Oh! Big left hook, and down goes Toney! He was caught showing off.
He did by that patented jumping left hook.
He got suckered into it.
I don't know if he was off balance as much as hurt. I think a little of both, but I don't think he's as hurt as the people might think he is here, because he was fooling around.
You know, Jones actually stuck his hands apart as if to joke, and Toney did the same thing, and Jones was too quick before Toney could get back defensively, and Jones starting to put it together here in the third. A minute gone by. Here comes Toney now, loading up the right hand right in the corner of Jones, and that has to surprise many people here, including myself, and I have to figure you're probably surprised at the power of Jones as well.
I'm not surprised at the power of Jones at all, but I am surprised that James Toney has taken this long to really put some pressure on. This is what he's got to do, just like that, to make this fight happen and get his counters in.
He's really getting hit by some counter shots from Jones here. Jones's hands and his feet, everything a lot quicker, and his confidence growing. That could be dangerous, though, against Toney. Good counter by Toney, his best punch of the fight.
But look at Jones, he's a scary dude. They're both scary, but I think Jones is even scarier because he's so darn fast. But I'll tell you, street, ring, anywhere, you wouldn't want to fight either one of these guys, especially Roy Jones at this point.
So far, it's been all we figured it would be. Jones scoring the knockdown. It was more than a flash knockdown. Toney was off balance, but the power of the left hook kind of knocked him into his own turnbuckle.
What I want you to look at, see, is even though you just saw a missed right hand, is look at Jones when he gets pinned on the ropes and he ties up Toney. He looks around at the crowd. It's like he's just wrestling with his baby brother. No problem. He's got so much. Look at him. See, looks around. No problem. You know, I can deal with that. He's really an amazing guy, full of self-confidence.
Look how low his hands are. Toney nearly caught him that time with the left hook.
But you saw what happened. Jones had his hands down, but they're so quick. He leaned back and caught Toney with a little left hook. He's just so quick. You don't fight like this unless it works for you. And this has worked for Jones so long, it'll work for him tonight as well.
He is so quick. Toney is right now finding out that he may not have the quickest hands in the sport, but we know he has the street toughness. And you look up under the right eye of Toney, who appears not to have his game plan working for him right now. And he seems a bit confused. Or
what's your game plan against Roy Jones? I mean, it's a hard game plan to have. The game plan is to put a lot of pressure on, but that's really never been James Toney's forte. He's a counter puncher. He may have to switch up during the fight and really put in the pressure. Here we go. Here's that little whoop-de-doo fake out. They're both faking. Look, and there goes Jones. And see, he kind of caught him and pushed him too. They bumped the bodies together. I don't think he was hurt as much. He was off balance, and then watch, see, and then the push there. And look at Toney, how strong he is, though. He doesn't go down because he knows that if he does go down, any part touches, it's a knockdown.
Jones actually played him into this, though. He suckered him into that by doing it himself. And Toney fell prey for it.
But it was definitely a push. It was a punch, but then the ultimate result was a push.
Round 4, and like a cat in an alley, Toney comes out with some fury here to start the round. On the ropes, Jones, but he's been able to slide off without being damaged that much so far. Toney looking more serious now, Joe, as he leans inside and eludes a left hook.
Toney's got to work as when he finally does get close to Roy Jones, he can't let Richard Steele come in and break it by obliging Jones and getting tied up with him. He's got to get his hands free and work to make the referee think that he doesn't have to step in and break him and then separate and give more room.
Good left hook.
It wasn't a strong left hook, but it was one aggravating and kind of demoralizing.
Jones is working that left hand. That's been his pet punch so far here through 3+.
Just when you think you should watch out for the hook, Jones will come with that straight right hand, and it's fast and hard.
3.5 years, Toney's been a champion. And they're talking to one another now. Good body work from Jones. He's not really known for his work downstairs, but mixing it up quite nicely so far, the challenger.
Well, right now it's a runaway for Roy Jones Jr., unfortunately, for James Toney. This is where he's got to do his work. You see how he just put his arm around Roy Jones there? He can't. He's got to keep his hands in front of him and work. The closer Roy Jones gets to Toney is when he's got to start punching.
Big shot from Toney, his best punch of the fight. And Jones nods his head as if to say, nah, didn't feel much of it. Toney has perhaps the bigger one punch, but he's not really a one-punch knockout artist. He goes through the body a lot, but he hasn't had a chance to really do that so far here in this one, Joe.
This Roy Jones Jr. is really amazing. He gets a good right hand by Toney off those 2 misses by Jones. But see how he slides off to the side of Toney, too. Toney will dip that left shoulder, and he takes advantage of that by going around Toney and landing beautiful little angle shots on him. Really frustrating for James Toney right now.
2 minutes gone by here in the 4th. Toney starting to assert himself again here.
As Roy Jones has landed 4 wicked shots, 2 to the body and 2 to the head.
This has been all good so far. Both fighters showing us their stuff, and Jones so far the better. Using the jab and the hooks and the right leads occasionally. And Toney starting to put some body work
together. And this is what James Toney has to do. He has to get down. He has to get in through that offense of Roy Jones somehow by moving his head, blocking punches, and then taking that opportunity to touch Jones's body immediately and not to wait.
Here's Jones. And champion off balance, being caught by the left and right hands. Closing moments here in round number 4. Jones rallying late here.
Punching it out, punching it out. Right, step back, step back, step back. He's slowing down some now. You'll be able to hit it more now. He's slowing down a little bit. Okay? Round 5.
Through 3 rounds, Jones landing 41% of his punches. He threw 153. He has thrown, rather. 85 for Toney for 31%. And, of course, a knockdown scored by Jones back in round number 3, a left hook. This is not what Jones wants to do in the center of the ring with James Toney.
Well, Jones just missed a real quick flurry of punches, and Toney is so adept at slipping and rolling with punches. And here's where he's got to come out of that with his own punches. After he takes those 2 and 3 touches from Roy Jones, he's got to come back and shoot his own punches right back at Jones to even the score up, or you just keep falling behind.
Nice defensive ploy there by Jones. What I notice is Jones will use his left hand and almost like Larry Holmes used to wave it across himself, and then he'll throw a hook off of it. It's been effective.
Very difficult to hit. You saw what Roy Jones did. He stood in there a few seconds ago, threw a left hand to the body, and then slid over completely around James Toney. It's amazing stuff, and this is what's giving Toney so much problems right now, is the angles and the fleet of and the foot speed of Roy Jones Jr. Not to mention the hand speed.
Just over a minute gone by here in round number 5. This one's scheduled for 12 rounds. James Toney's championship on the line here, the IBF version of the 168-pound title. And Roy Jones vacated his middleweight championship for this opportunity. And both fighters gave away a guaranteed $2 million plus to take some gate receipts. And there's Toney getting hit with some lefts and some rights. Playing a decoy game, but Jones landing the ball. And they trade inside, and the power of Toney being noticed there. Again, Toney landing. And Jones coming back with some offering. And they trade in the middle of the squared circle here at the MGM. A minute left here in the 5th. Toney coming up with some big shots here in this round. But he has to come through some shots of Jones also.
This is what Toney's got to do. He's got to make Jones work in hopes of tiring him out a little bit. It's only the 5th round. We got 7 more rounds to go. Tiring him out and taking it to him in the later rounds. Because right now, ooh, good left hook by Roy Jones Jr. Right now, Jones is just fresh as a daisy, and he's got all sorts of energy.
Very sneaky left hand for Jones. Toney has him right where he should do some work to him right here.
Toney can't always wait for that right hand.
Whistling turnaround left hook.
He missed him.
He nearly got it, though.
You saw how Jones got out of the corner, was standing behind him like he walked through him. So this kid is just unbelievable. You cannot let him rest. You've got to tire out Roy Jones Jr., and that means constant pressure. You can't give him these breathers here.
We'll see what attrition has to do with this one, because we're about to close out round 5. This is a very close round, Joe. Who do you like so far in this one?
Well, Toney landed his occasional counter punches here, but I still like Jones for landing and ring generalship. The punches he's landed early on, he did more work, and I just think it's been pretty much a sweep for Roy Jones so far. But Toney is getting closer and doing better.
Doing good. Way to work. Keep it control. Still try to sit that hook up. Try to hit that hook up off your jab now. You'll get it in better. You'll get it in better. Okay? There you go. You're doing good. This 6th round, baby. Coming in the 6th. Coming. Okay. Here. Coming in the 6th. Give him some water.
Here's some of the action in that intense 5th round.
Here's where you got Toney pressing the action. Here's that counter right hand that got deflected by Roy Jones, and then he landed that left hook off it. So Jones right, Toney right, but missed, and then a counter left hook. And here goes Jones to work now. He's on one side of you, then he's on the next, and he's peppering you the whole time.
20 of its bouts, we're referring to the champion Toney, have gone past 6 rounds. He has 6 KOs in the 6th, 3 KOs for Jones after the 6th. So the deeper it gets into the fight, you would believe that Toney would pick up the momentum. So far, it's been Roy Jones Jr. looking to make his mark here, not only in the middleweight division as a super middle, but in the world of boxing. Has it been what you expected so far?
Yes, exactly. Exactly what I expected, and that was that Roy Jones would use his superior athletic ability on top of his God-given boxing talent. Look at that. I mean, that's just an athlete, pure and simple, and Toney's having a hard time dealing with it, even though he's probably the more accomplished fighter. But you just got a great set of wheels on Roy Jones Jr. here with all the other, gadgets he's got going for him, and it's just too difficult of a night for James Toney so far. He's got to do something to turn the tide here. And do that. Get rough, go to the body, use your arms, your forearms. Do anything you can to slow down Roy Jones and expose something that he will be vulnerable to.
Toney looking to make something happen. He hasn't been able to so far. Jones is really slick, though. He has proven to be all of what many people that know him believed he is. And, it's amazing when you have a talent that's somewhat undiscovered in Jones. Even though we know who he is, a lot of the boxing people out there that are watching the fight right now, they're not that familiar with Roy Jones Jr.
I think the general public, you're right, has not very much knowledge of Roy Jones. But the boxing community, of course, does. And that's why everyone anticipated this fight so much with a beautiful left hook by Roy Jones. Anticipated this fight so much because they knew the talent. And, of course, everyone knows James Toney.
Roy Jones holding that left hand in his holster. A quick draw with it, too. Toney missing the overhand.
See, even though Roy Jones's hands are down on the ropes, you still can't hit him. He turns his shoulder, he leans back a little bit. He's got great radar, he's got great eyes, and then his feet get him out of the way. He turns this way or that way, steps left or right, and he's just not there for James Toney. A little rabbit punch going on by both boys here.
This round right here with not the same action as, the prior 5 or so, but good left hand there from Roy Jones. Jones still landing his pet punch, though, which is the left hook.
Yeah, see, he knew he wasn't going to land that punch. Boom, he got out, jackrabbit quick, and that's the amazing thing about Roy Jones. Look, threw a left hook, leaned back, didn't get hit with the sweeping right hand by Toney.
Closing seconds here of round 6. This will take us to the midway point in this bout.
Look at that, right behind him again.
Toney has to be frustrated.
Of course, that's what got Terry Norris DQ'd the other night in Mexico City against Santos Cardona. Was getting behind him and hitting him with the punch behind the head. So we better be careful of that.
Way to turn. Wait a minute. I want you to just
back into
some
Toney's
of the jab,
corner.
some of the hooks you're doing now. Come inside with it instead of outside with a stick. Come through the middle. Right. Each time, put a little more pressure. Put a little pressure. We got him on our territory now. Coming into the championship round. That's right. Bing through the middle. Okay. Try to make, he's flicking for everything you do. Right. Every time you flick at him, man, he's going for it. All right. Okay. Stay right there.
What do you tell your guy, Joe, in this situation if you're in Toney's corner where you seem to be getting beat to the punch almost every time, like right there?
I'd say, hey, you know, you got a damn technique, and what you got to do is just assert your manhood on him at this point, rough him up, corner him, whatever it takes. If you got to grab him, hit him, you know, on the shoulders, arm, anything, but you've got to score your punches, and you can't do it by trying to counter punch and be slick. You've got to really start taking chances at opening up and making the other guy open up, because obviously the superior talent is Jones. You're not going to beat him in a tactical game. So let's see if you can beat him at a rough game. Get in there and press him hard.
With the exception of the 4th round, perhaps every other round has been Jones's round. And here, in round 7, he comes out in the first minute, goes right back to work with the lefts and rights. Toney getting hit by some big shots from Jones in the center of the ring. Combination punching there by Jones. The unknown is starting to be known now in Roy Jones Jr.
Well, James Toney right now has been in a lot of fights. Got clipped with a beautiful right hand by Roy Jones and shook it off real well. But Toney's never been in with somebody this talented, with the exception of maybe Michael Nunn, who was doing the same thing to him. Was getting around him, surrounding him. But Nunn ran out of gas, like I said later on, at the hand of James Toney working his body, which he's not doing in this fight against Roy Jones.
Roy Jones on the ropes here. And he's been able to get away from all the pressure of the champion so far to this point. A little roughness there from Toney, but he, like you said, he has to try something.
Right, he's got to do this, and you know, I'm sure Bill Miller in Toney's corner would like to have referee Richard Steele just stay out of the way and let Toney maul him a little bit. I know as a corner man right now, I'd make sure in between rounds, I'd tell Richard Steele, hey, leave my man alone in the corner. He's trying to work just because the other guy's holding on. Give him a chance to work out of it, just like that.
Time ticking away here for the champion as we go into the final 45 seconds of round 7. And Jones still connecting on combinations with the quicker hands and the more accuracy. Toney just pounding Jones, or Jones rather pounding Toney. Combination punching. Champion on the ropes now. And you don't see Jones, or Toney rather, retreat very often. He seems to be a bit winded too, Joe.
Well, I couldn't disagree with you there. Toney had him pinned in the corner, and Jones is the one who forced his way out. So, you know, it goes to show you that Jones is not only smart, but he's also very strong to back up a guy that much heavier than himself. And listen, those punches are taking their toll on James Toney because he just got caught with another good left hook, even though he's sliding and rolling with a lot of them.
Oh, good left hand from Toney, and a right at the bell. Toney's best moment, but after he had been mauled for the majority of round number 7. Back into Toney's corner.
You hear me? Especially when we're inside. We got to take this fight. We're on our territory now. We got to make our move. You can hit him all day, keeping at your range. Okay, let's go.
Look at that little replay there. We're going to see this left hook land, but it was high on the head of Roy Jones Jr. It wasn't that big of a punch. I think Richard Steele got hit a little bit harder at the end there. But it's an accomplishment to even hit Roy Jones on top of the head with a glancing punch. He's just not easy to hit square.
Round number 8. So far, Roy Jones Jr. Good left hook, and Toney had to grab on there. He lost his balance for a moment. Or so it appeared. The left hook has been the best shot there, and Toney hurt by that shot, swinging wildly. Some headshots, and they're piling up for Jones, the challenger. He backs Toney up, and this is not a scene that you'll see very often. Here comes Jones. Has Toney in his corner, pounding him to the head with left and right. Toney fires back a right hand.
Toney was riding out 99% of those punches, especially in the corner there. That was a little shot behind the head from Roy Jones, which doesn't do anybody any good. But right now, Toney isn't doing the smart thing, but he's doing what he thinks might work for him to get Jones to open up right in front of him instead of dancing around him, and maybe he can land a counter shot somehow out of these flurries.
Joe, either Toney's tired or he's a good actor. He appears to be a bit worn.
He's a bit worn, but I guarantee you he's trying to land something like that.
If he's waiting for Jones to punch himself out, he's taking a beating in the process.
Well,
good work from Jones.
You can see Jones isn't going to punch himself out. It's the 8th round already. He's trained his whole life for this. He's been in training camp for 2 months for this fight. He's not going to get tired. He's done everything right.
Some blood now in the mouth of the champion, Toney, as he opens his mouth to breathe a bit harder and gets caught with a left hook right in the mouth. And on the ropes.
You see what I mean? Richard Steele, he didn't like the forearm that he put across Roy Jones, but he can't break up James Toney on the inside when he finally gets to do a little what he gets to do. He should let him work there.
You know, sometimes I know the camps, they talk to the referee or not the referee himself, but the representation in the state, and they point out some things about the other guy that they want stopped. Could this be the case with Jones?
Well, you know, right now I would say that whatever it was or should have been covered earlier wasn't. And the fact of the matter is, it should be the corner's job right now to try to help out his fighter and get any edge he can by talking to the referee.
Right hand and more blood in the mouth of Toney. He said once before he likes to get hit. He's been hit.
See, the referee's going to jump in and break him if Toney doesn't do something. That's why when he finally gets in there. Ooh.
Oh, big left hand from Toney, but not as big as it appeared.
Look at Steele, though. He's getting in the way too much here. He's got to let these guys fight a little bit more.
And that just fired up Roy Jones in the final 10 seconds. A street fight now in the middle of the ring. What is Richard Steele doing there?
He heard the...
It's a 10-second warning. What a bad move by Richard Steele. I hate to say it because I know Richard personally. And right when the fight was beginning to turn into an alley fight, he made a mistake.
Well, what happened was he heard the 10-second warning, which is a clapping sound. It's very loud. It's right next to ringside. And unfortunately for Richard Steele, it's quite embarrassing, I'm sure, for him right now. He's just misinterpreting the 10-second warning for the bell. And it's unfortunate for the fans, the referee, and the fighters right now.
It's getting late for the champion. Round number 9 coming up. And as we look back at the action,
Don't get hit this time. Make him miss.
It looks like this might be the part of the round where it looked like Toney was hurt, but he wasn't. He just fell off balance. Here's Jones missing with another left hook, but he landed quite a few punches in that last round. That was one of the few he didn't land.
it's getting pretty late for the champion now as we enter round number 9.
It's obvious James Toney needs a knockout. There's no two ways about it.
If you're Jones, what do you tell him in his corner before this round? Do you still have him use the left hand and the combinations, or do you have him up on his bike?
Look, I have him doing the same thing he is doing every round in, round out, and that's winning each round handily by using your superior athletic abilities. Don't try to get into a slugfest. Hit your shots, get out to the side, work them. And that's, it looks like that's the talking he got to in the corner. Look, you've got an 8, just slipped on some ice, 8-round advantage. Go ahead and box. You can do this the rest of the fight and still win.
One thing it does for Toney, though, it gives him a chance to move in because there's no punches coming at him.
Well, I guarantee you Roy Jones isn't going to take this whole round off for the rest of the fight. He might just be having a little fun, moving around, doing his thing, catching his breath, and I'm sure he's going to open up momentarily.
would this have been the moment coming into this round that you tell Toney to go in there and finish this guy? It's getting late.
Well, I would have told James Toney that 4 rounds ago that it was obvious and apparent that there's no way you're going to tactic this man, that you're going to have to go in there and just rough him up, open him up, and get him into a slugfest somehow, which he did do last round. But that strategy came a little too late.
James Toney. The thing you have to keep in mind about Jones and what appears to be a lead is you have 3 judges scoring the fight, and they're all at 3 different angles, looking at the fight from 3 different sides of the ring.
Well,
and if you lay off, things could change not only in the judge's mind, but in the ring itself.
Tell you what, the judge on my side's got it a shutout. But let me put it this way: I would be really shocked if these judges didn't have a big lead for James Toney right now.
You mean for Jones?
Or for Roy Jones Jr., I'm sorry. James Toney, if I'm his corner man and I'm looking at it from a corner man standpoint, I'm saying you need a knockout. Whether the judge has it that way or not, as a corner man, my opinion is you need a knockout if I'm in James Toney's corner. And that's the perspective I'm looking at right now, is that he's way behind on points here.
The left eye of Toney is swelling, a lot of redness around it. For Jones, he's unmarked in the closing seconds here of round 9. Oh, good right hand coming out of the clinch inside from Jones, the challenger. Sneaky punch. He is very slick, Joe. 10-second count as lunging in the champion. He gets caught with the left and knocked into the neutral turnbuckle.
Well, Jones landed 2 rights and then slipped over to the left side and landed the left hook to the body. He's just outboxing James Toney at every turn. You've got to give him credit. I haven't seen one round where it's been in the reverse.
There you go. You feel that hand up there just like you did. Run it off. Right up there. Put it on his head.
Other water bottle, Ronnie. I'm hitting hard, man.
Come on, give it to him. Give it to him.
Jones says, I'm hitting hard.
You know, something I noticed about the cornermen also, Joe, is the way they jumped in the ring. The Toney, they took their time getting in. On the other hand,
to our round.
Jones is people, they jumped in the ring with a lot of enthusiasm.
Well,
because they know they have this.
You hear me?
Exactly right.
Right.
That's the right way to read and see. Roy Jones Jr.'s corner is very, very excited. They know that they're just minutes away from
9 minutes
another world championship fight.
Got to have it.
James Toney people, I think, are a little confused, as well as James Toney are, as to what's going to happen next. And I don't think it bodes well for James Toney. And his corner is reflecting that in their actions.
Here's the bell for round number 10, and the hourglass dripping away the sand for the champion, James Lights Out Toney. 9 minutes left for him to perhaps retain his championship with a dramatic knockout. He's done it before. He did it in his last fight in the 12th round against Prince Charles Williams in the same ring. Even though he was ahead slightly on the scorecards, he landed that big right hand to put his man to sleep, and he's looking for a bit of deja vu in this one. Jones quickly using that counter left.
Toney threw that right hand to the body. Jones countered it, bang, right over the top, and then bounced off the ropes and just kind of raised his hands and slithered off the ropes away from James Toney.
The body work that we're used to seeing Toney do, he hasn't really had a chance to put it together, so it's really not much use unless he's going to use it as a decoy to go to the head now.
The body attack has been dismembered by 3 things. 1, James Toney hasn't really taken it, didn't do it early enough. Number 2, Roy Jones Jr. won't let him because he's tying him up. And number 3, Richard Steele breaks it up pretty darn quick once they do get on the inside.
Sounds like a shutout.
Yeah, it's really hard to get your body work on when you got a guy like Jones that is just so adept at turning and twisting. And look, throwing hands up and just, he's got great radar, and it's hard to get a solid shot off body or head. Look at Toney, his back turned to him again.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm about to ask you about the meals. You mentioned he may have had 6 meals, Toney, the champion, since the weigh-in, and he blew up some 16, 18 pounds. Could we now be seeing the effects of that?
Well, you know, like I said, it doesn't look like James is real sluggish. It just looks like Roy Jones Jr. is in supersonic speed right now. I think this is the same James Toney we normally see. It's just that he's got a guy in there that is just head and shoulders athletically above him and can fight to boot. This kid is just brilliant in the ring, Roy Jones Jr. And James Toney, I don't think it's the weight so much as this style is just killing him.
You have to love the way that Toney is, or rather Jones is negotiating the clock here in this round. He steps away, runs to his right, then slicks back to his left, lands a couple, leaves the scene of the crime, then back inside. Even on the ropes, he, as you mentioned, ties up well.
He ties up well. He looks nonchalant. He's looking around the audience. He jumps in with sneaky punches. When you think he's not going to punch on the inside, he whips 3 and 4 punches to your belly. He backs off, jumps in. Oh, man. This is any trainer's worst nightmare, this type of fighter. And there's not many of them out there. Maybe Pernell Whitaker is as tricky as this kid.
Toney's right hand landing there, but he didn't really find the kisser with it. Closing seconds here of the 10th round. Whistling right hand, a portion of it landing on the nose of Toney. 6 minutes left for the champion to come up with a dramatic KO, or perhaps he'll lose his championship.
Keep it just like that. Keep picking them shots and fight.
So often, Joe, when the guy...
6 minutes, James.
As we check.
All right. Show it to me. Okay, bro. Let's go. We got to have it.
Toney's last fight at 168. But I think more so than that is the other guy over in the blue corner. I think Roy Jones is just superior above the rest.
You know, like we always say,
no mistakes. Keep control like you've been keeping. Little grease on my hand.
The weight's behind you. Now it's the two guys in the ring. Let's forget about the weight, even though that is a intangible you throw in there. But the reality of this fight tonight is that Roy Jones
there you go. Make him fine. When you turn, catch him, Roy.
With not as good a talent, is as good as we thought he would be tonight. And probably a lot better than James Toney thought he was going to be.
6 minutes left here as we go to round 11, and Toney, as he has done initially in every round to start it, comes out with a left hook. Toney being encouraged to go after his man. He's really tried. They're a pretty good left hook from Toney.
You see how Roy Jones stuck out his hand straight and put his head back, like trying to beautiful left hook by Roy Jones.
Right
and he just turns and slides off the ropes, and the punch from Toney lands on his off his forearm.
One thing I guess that's somewhat surprising for Toney, we haven't seen him try anything different. Or is it because he's limited?
Well, I'll tell you what, you know he's not a limited guy because we've seen him really do some extraordinary things in the ring. One against Mike McCallum, who's a consummate counterpuncher boxer, against a slugger like Iran Barkley, and against another top-notch athlete like Michael Nunn. We've seen him overcome, adjust, and win. But this is just something real special here in Roy Jones. You've got a guy that really, you're going to have to come up with a real star-like performance to beat a guy like Roy Jones. I can see him going undefeated as long as he wants to be, as long as he stays in shape and keeps his head on straight.
Even when he's trying to duck under a punch, Jones will catch him with the left hook as he did seconds ago. I'm surprised Toney's not coming after him with everything. Ooh, good smash to the face from the champion, Toney. And counter right. He should be all over him right now, though.
He's hard to catch. Look at the feet. Just watch his feet. They never stop. And once they do stop, he'll tie you up and then hit you. Look. Oh, beautiful left hook. He gets on both sides here.
This is incredible to see Toney get waxed like this on the rope.
Toney got hit with a good right hand. I know he's a little stunned, but I know he's going to play possum here and come out of it with something. He just looked to do it, but Jones got his distance again because he knows that same very thing. That Toney was playing a little bit of possum off that good shot, but not enough to put him down or out.
Final minute here of round 11. Jones trading and silvering here.
Well, Richard Steele getting dangerously close, but they're both trading punches on the break there.
It's been all Roy Jones Jr. so far.
Oh boy, how many times has he done that to James Toney? Jumped in with that left hook. Toney's got nothing on his punches at this point either.
I think he's hurt now too, Joe. To the body and upstairs.
Look at Toney. He is a bad dude, let me tell you. He'd like this fight to go on for about 38 rounds.
He could probably win it.
Yeah, then he might win it. But in 12 rounds, you ain't going to beat Roy Jones Jr.
Final seconds here of round 11. And of course, everyone's curious about what Toney will do in the final 3 minutes of work. We know he has his work cut out for him, and he's been there before. Can he pull it out once again? Final instructions in the corner of Toney.
We need him. Come on. We need this here. I got to have this here. We need it. There's no more tomorrow.
About that corner now.
This is it. I want you to touch him, put them 3 and 4 point combinations on him and go.
On your head, I'm on your head.
He want, let me talk.
And final round.
Okay? Run, listen to me. Don't give him a chance. Don't give him a chance to take nothing, okay? Don't stay there and slug with him, but I want you hitting him and talking.
In comparison to what you heard in Tony's corner, they know they're 3
Go
minutes
get him
away
like you did with Prince Charles.
from winning the championship.
Well, Merkinson is Jones's trainer. He says, I don't want you to get in there and slug with him, but I want you to keep beating on him, touching him, hitting him, and working him. So he just wants him to box him, but he wants him to be active. On the other hand, my heart goes out to Bill Miller, the trainer of James Toney, who's brought him to this point. He's been a wonderful trainer for him. My heart goes out to him because he was kind of stuck for words there. His only instruction was, we need him. What I think he really meant to say is, we need a knockout or we lose our title.
But he really didn't want to say it, huh?
No, he didn't.
Jones not changing his plan here, even though it appears as though he has the fight won if he can stay on his feet. All it takes is one moment of glory, an instant, a punch from left field to right field. It's right down Main Street from Toney, and he could turn the tide. But I don't know if it's going to happen here, Joe. This has been a magical ring for some of the big-time names in the world of boxing. George Foreman late in the fight when he seemed to be all but beaten. He came back with the big right hand in the 10th round to knock out Michael Moore, but we haven't seen anything to indicate that Toney could do the same.
I'll grant you that. That was a marvelous upset, but here the difference was that Foreman was landing his shots all throughout the fight. He was getting beat, yes, but he was landing his shots and he was breaking Michael Moore down. On the other hand, James Toney just hasn't been able to get those repeated shots on the chin of Roy Jones to break him down, and that's been the difference here. It's been total control, no give and take at all, which is surprising. But then again, I think a lot of people kind of knew that Jones was the type of fighter that could pull this type of performance out of his hat.
I get the impression that Jones wants to close out the show in grand fashion. Instead of moving, you see him throwing rights like that and landing.
Through a right hand. Toney came back with a counter.
Oh, a smash! Left hook to the face from Jones. And Toney unable to come back with anything. It's been a boxing lesson so far here tonight. And it looks as though it's going to go in the books as an upset, a slight one. Toney was about a 3-2 favorite in this fight. They opened the fight at even here at the MGM, and the public quickly jumped on Toney. And those, we're talking about some unhappy campers now. People that wagered on the champion because he is a beaten man.
Looking back on it, it's hard to bet against a guy, a winner like James Toney, especially with some of the brilliant things we've seen him do. But here we just saw the emergence of a true superstar in this game, as Roy Jones Jr.
Jones wants to finish in grand fashion here as he's starting to get more aggressive in the final 10 seconds. It's over, and I think it's over for the champion, at least as the super middleweight champion. Roy Jones Jr., splendid indeed, splendid enough for the upset, or at least so it appears, Joe Wilson.
I got a shutout. How surprising is that? A shutout for Roy Jones Jr.
The only round that appeared close enough to give to the champion is the one that unofficially I gave him. It was the 4th round because that was when Toney began to apply some body work.
Right.
But he couldn't sustain it from that point on.
Exactly.
And then the knockdown in round 3, the left hook, the indication that Jones not only a slick fighter that has some good moves in the ring, but he also has the capability of knocking a guy down.
That's right. The last person I remember knocking down James Toney was the southpaw Reggie Johnson, who went on to become middleweight champion of the world. But other than that, nobody puts James Toney on the seat of his pants. And this is a guy coming up from 60, Roy Jones Jr., to put a bigger man on the canvas. You know, Jones has the framework. Look, there's not an ounce of fat on him to also go up in weight in the near future. I'm not saying that that's what I recommend.
Ladies and gentlemen, here at the MGM Grand of Las Vegas, we go to the scorecards. Jon Stewart scores the bout, 119 to 108. Glenn Hamada scores it, 117 to 110. And Jerry Roth has it, 118 to 109 for the winner by unanimous decision. And new super middleweight champion of the world, Roy Jones Jr.
I have to say, Joe, I'm impressed. I'm impressed by the performance of Jones. And right before the bout, you asked me who I liked, and I told you Jones, and I really couldn't describe Toney losing the fight, but I just had the feeling that the guy that we...
Oh, please.